Hello everyone, welcome back after a bit to the RedSeaPodcast, at least the live version. Uh, Missed talking about the team. To be fair, it's been, I think, ever since the last live, it's been 12 days. But as you've seen, a lot of changes have been happening to the show. I've started to post some highlights giving the Rasitechni a bit more love. The vlog with Ike happened, and of course, for the past 5 days, including the vlog, as you all must have seen. Also, excuse the sniffle that will be constantly running. I am a bit on the sick side. But yeah, in the past 5 days, the surreal experience happened that you will probably have seen if you follow me on the socials as well. That for the first time, the Red Sea Podcast boys were together in real life, and it was 5 wonderful days with Gav. That was fun, and that gave us some content to post here as well, as you've seen with the vlog. But now we're back with a regular scheduling, a regular programming, and two games that once again feel like complete polar opposites, but left us quite speechless in similar ways, dare I say. Both certainly left questions to be answered. Both certainly left lessons to be learned. And both most certainly left us just that bit closer to a heart attack. But yeah, let's just get straight into it because it's been a minute and I need to find my groove again. I'm sure you all understand, like always. Let's start with the Monaco game because that one left the most questions. I feel like a Monaco game that didn't resemble Olympiacos. I think that's safe to say. A Monaco game in which we knew it was a game that we shouldn't underestimate, but again, felt like we unintentionally did. It was a game that we perhaps approached with too much fear and yet way too little concentration. Performances weren't up to the level we are used to performances being. Alpha Diallo and Mike James together dropped a 50 bomb on our heads, which is insane in and of itself. You could say that the only people that really were up to the standards we expect them to be were Dorsey, Vezenkov, Milutinov, and Hall. The Hall is a very positive chapter that I want to get into separately after I talk about both games, if I hopefully remember. But aside from that, it was just Monaco and Monaco. These four felt like they had zero help. It felt like they had no no extra shoulder to stand on, especially Tyler, given that Tyler near the end, I think the best thing to say is that Tyler tried to win the game on his own, and yet he completely just shut down because not one player can win a game on his own, right? Good evening, good night, good morning, whenever you're watching this, of course, and wherever you're watching this from. Today's victory was very stressful, but it was equally important. I'll get to the Hapoel game in a bit, but I honestly couldn't agree more in the way that you put it. But yeah, going back to Monaco, it's, it was a cesspool of personal mistakes, right? And I'm not even gonna go into into the refereeing because there were some questionable decisions, as there always are, especially with that free throw at the end. But when you've gone an entire game where you can't keep consistent forming off to just reach out and grab the win in your hands, like we eventually did today, despite the scoring form being completely different. When you can't go out and actively grab a game and control it against a team like Monaco, you'll eventually fall, like we did. Which, the game was not in any way, I feel like, anything embarrassing. Like, it was an out and out basketball loss. And these losses are going to happen, especially in a season where the Euroleague isn't really predictable. Like, you saw the leaders today barely be able to score 15 points in the second half, right? That's due to us waking up, but there isn't any clear out and out team that's better than anyone else. In my opinion, at least, there isn't any favorite for the Euroleague this year, especially in a season like this. There's nothing you can really say when losses like this come, right? But there's two factors that personally annoyed me in the loss against Monaco. One is that that's our second loss at home, and in very similar fashion as well, because the game against FS had the injury factor as well. Like, we didn't have half the team, but again, it was a game where we lost mainly because of personal mistakes and not a lack of players. But that can go down to injury, exhaustion, and that's a very reasonable victory. But that's a second victory at home, very quickly into the season. But on the other hand, that's why today's victory was as important, right? Because if we actually went on to go 0 out of 2 on a double week against teams like Monaco and Hapoel, which are direct rivals, as it seems, for a top 4 spot in the regular season, and have that following the losses that came before, that would have been morally catastrophic, right? And you can already see confidence issues with some players on this team, which again we'll get into in a bit. But the fact that we managed to bounce back from the loss against Monaco, and despite the game today, especially the third quarter being, don't even know how to describe that third. I don't know how to describe half of today's game, but we will get through it together. Despite the confidence issues in some players, the fact that we locked down today's win, it both exposed a team like Hapoel and the flaws they have, and it both exposed that you should never. It's what I've been preaching. I think the first episode of the show, we're now on episode 111, but the other content, going back 110 episodes, I think it was March 12th or 13th of 2024. I think I've been preaching the same exact thing in regards to basketball from episode 1 to today on episode 111. And that's that you should never ever give up on this thing. Like, today, with the basketball that we saw, like, even I went bananas. Okay, even I wanted to tear my eyes out at some point because that was ugly basketball from both them. But even in the lowest of lows, which in no way am I saying that this period is a very low for this team because we've seen the very lows of this team. This isn't a deadly low, but there have been lows this season. And even in those, this team will always find a way to come back. And I mean, fucking hell, we're just getting into November. Like in Greece, when this is being streamed, like it will flip into November in 7 minutes. I don't know how stuff can be considered season defining in 7 minutes, in a month and a half. Let me actually find the standings. We're fourth. We're 5-3. Yeah, okay. I get the will of wanting to be higher. I get the understanding that 2 out of these 3 losses perhaps could have been avoided. But we're 8 games in out of 30, 4 this season. There's still a marathon and a half to go on and run. This season needs patience, and more than anything, it needs consistency, which we are starting to show. There are mistakes, as I said. There are confidence issues, but it needs consistency. Before anything, it needs consistency. We can't go 100%, then 0, and then 100 again, because we'll more than likely just miss out on the playoffs in that sense. We need to keep going at a solid 80 to 90 in the regular season, which both covers some of the losses like the Monaco game, despite the way it came, which was, as we said, frustrating. But it also guarantees that we'll get performances enough out of everyone to get the place that we deserve. Now, I won't stand a lot on the Monaco game, a lot more at least, but I will stand on that final play, that final important play. And for those of you that do disagree with the argument I'm about to present, I want you to calmly, whenever you listen to this, and in whichever platform, like if you're listening to this on Spotify, you can go on and comment. If you disagree with the following argument, I want you to calmly go to the comments and explain why, because I don't get it. Of course, the last important shot that perhaps could have flipped the result of that game was Sasha giving the ball to Tyson Ward, and Tyson Ward shooting and missing that 3, which basically kills the game. Why are people going after Sasha for passing the ball? I get, again, I've said this in the past, I get that Sasha is going to be targeted extra due to him being Sasha Vezenkov. Same for Fournier. Fournier is always going to have an extra spotlight on him. But why are people going at Sasha for passing there? Please explain that to me, because I don't get it. I'd call his decision correct, because that's a split-second decision. And that split-second decision is not always going to be shoot. And that's a lose-lose scenario, because if Sasha took the shot, despite not feeling confident in the shot, and missed, the criticism would be worse. So he passed it off to an open Tyson Ward, who shot and sadly missed. Stuff happened. I just want someone to explain to me Why are people going after Sasha for passing the damn ball? Like, please, just someone let me know, if possible. I think that's more or less everything I want to get off my chest for the Monaco game. Now, today, which is much more fresh in our memories, if anything, even though I don't know if that's for the best or the worst, because what a horrific game of basketball for the most part. Like, let's not kid ourselves. I just want to bring up another comment here. Despite the bad basketball we played, I believe there were many positives today that we can move forward with, and we should definitely. Despite the bad basketball we played, I believe there were many positives today that we can move forward with. I apologize, my reading comprehension went to shit. And we should definitely mention Walkup's very good defensive performance. I will get to Thomas Walkup for sure. And you know what? I'll use your comment as an amazing segue to start off with Thomas. The things he managed to pull off today, especially in that fourth quarter, deserve applause at minimum. Of course, Walkup played 24, the most minutes he's played a hot minute, putting up 3, of course, getting 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and plus minus 9 to himself. But I feel like this is one of the main examples of my argument of stats don't show everything in basketball, because solely if you look at that fourth quarter and what Walker did defensively, that's half the win. Because even after the mistake of Alec Peters, which thankfully was a normal foul, Walker basically presses the undo button on that mistake and steals the ball back with seconds to go, which basically secures us the victory, right? Slowly but surely, despite that god awful injury he's had to overcome, I feel like we're seeing good old Thomas back. And for whoever has gone to this day and still doesn't understand what Thomas brings to this team and why he deserves the minutes he gets, with all due respect, you just simply miss aspects of basketball, right? Because I'm the first one that said, yeah, I accept any kind of disagreement and I accept any kind of discussion and I accept any kind of criticism and so on and so forth. I truly stand by that. But if you still, on goddamn November 1st of 2025, can watch Olympiacos and say that Thomas Walkup isn't a vital piece of this team, you're lying to yourself. Because it's not just today. There are many, many games that Thomas has been the reason that we've gotten the result over the line. And that can't be overlooked. That always needs to be mentioned. And as the comment says here as well, honestly, as god awful, because it was god awful, that performance in general was, the positive reactions that came from this game is a lesson alone to keep. And I'll get into that. For example, for 15 minutes straight, 15 goddamn minutes, we basically built a new chef with all the threes that we missed. And we kept on shooting and kept on shooting and kept on shooting and kept on missing. I'll openly admit this, I thought we wouldn't get 30. I really thought we wouldn't get 30 and a half. But 5 minutes before the half ends, and that goddamn timeout. Goddamn timeout. I don't know what Barjokas did to just flip a switch in everyone's head, but they started feeding Milutinov. And from that moment onwards, despite how bad, how horrifically bad the third quarter was, from that moment onwards, the game was over. Because no big can keep up with Milutinov right now. I will stand by my goddamn argument that Milutinov is the most dominant big in the paint in the Euroleague. When he's on form and when he's healthy, which this year he's been both better than ever. And he proved that in the best way possible, finishing with a 10 and 13 with 3 steals. Which shocking that Milutinov had no blocks and 3 steals, but that's a whole different story. A monster in the paint, completely overshadowed everyone, offensively and defensively, rebounds, dunks, anything and everything. And despite literally being ignored, because he got ignored, there's no other way you can put it. For the first 15 minutes, we basically forgot that we could pass the ball in the paint. But from the moment we did, him and Donta Hall just killed the game. Milutinov is my MVP. Milutinov is the team's MVP. And I think despite, and again, it goes back to the phrase me and Gav have said in football, what a problem to have, where you can't really name the MVP of the game with certainty, right? What a problem to have. But I think that despite it being close, it's unanimous that it goes to Milu, right? He's having the season of his career. He's having performances that are surprising even the most positive fans of the team. And if he, God willing, if he keeps healthy for the entire season, same for someone else we'll get into in a second, he'll have the season of his career, and I honestly believe he can have a run for MVP. We'll see how the team does, but if Milu continues being this dominant and this consistent, he'll for sure at minimum have the best season in his career. And as I said, speaking of best season in his career, Mr. Tyler Dorsey. It's insane. It's insane and it's kind of funny. Okay. I'm gonna be the first one to openly admit it, like I have in the past. For those of you that are new, I was one of the few, because I know that I was in the minority for this one, that didn't want Tyler back. And now the phrase that I've said many times can be stuck right here in big bold letters that I'm never as happy as when I'm wrong about things. We all know what happened with Tyler last year. It made more sense as time passed. And we're heading into the Tyler of this year. And even on his bad nights, because if we judge him on the standards of this year, tonight for Tyler was a bad game. Even if he put up 11, 3, and 11 and 3. I thought he had a rebound. That's on me. He put up 11 and 3 in 18 minutes with 3 out of 5 threes and 1 out of 4 mid-range shots. Even if that, for last season's Tyler, may have been a season's performance, for this season's Tyler, tonight was a bad night. And I know that for some reason he got frozen out of the game at the end. I still don't get why. But the transformation this man has gone through, or even if on his bad night he puts up 11 and 3, is mind-blowing to me. And again, you can stick in big bold letters here. If this wasn't streamed, I'd edit this. I'm never as happy as when I'm wrong. I've been one of the people that's been embarrassed by Dorsey, and I have openly flipped to being this man's biggest fan. Biggest fan. And it's the same argument as Milutinov. If he continues being healthy, and if he continues being as consistent as he has been, Tyler Dorsey is going to have the best season of his career. Because again, even if on his bad nights he puts up 11 and 3, I can't imagine what the best games of this season for him are going to look like. Because I feel like we haven't even seen them yet. It's again, take me back a year ago and tell me that and I'd laugh in your face, probably, as for a lot of things. Now, is there a point in talking about Vazenkov in the way of it's Sasa? He'd show up when we needed him to show up. Putting up 14, 4, and 1 in 26, adding on to that a steal and 0 personal fouls. Not a Vazenkov night, but a wonderful night of basketball nonetheless. Because similar to Dorsey, but in a career sense, most players in the league would hope to have Sasa's worst night performances. But yeah, Amanda deserves all the appreciation and all the shout-outs for me because of the work he put in, the rise he's having, is Donta freaking Hall. Donta started doubtfully, okay? He wasn't at his best. He shows up in the Super Cup, then his performance drops a bit. Then it drops and it drops, and then a steady rise starts to happen. And it goes up and up and up and up, and it's going up non-stop. And Dorsey keeps and keeps, not Dorsey, I saw the comment, and Hall keeps and keeps and keeps on getting better and more consistent and more dominant. And I don't think he scored any other open play shots other than dunks, which is insane. But Donta Hall is finding his confidence. He's using his insane athleticism because Donta's athleticism is maddeningly explosive. And again, the main argument I presented with Hall is that if he keeps on playing better and better, having just a 5% rise in his performance every single game, game in and game out, with the way that his body works. Where we're talking about one of the most consistently healthy players, he'll not only be able to rest Milutinov more, but he'll prove himself. Excuse the yawn. He'll prove himself to be one of the most worthy backups we've had in the past few years. And that's exactly what he's doing. His performances have been getting consistently better. And even if they kept stale, they're still more than good enough. They are what we expect of a backup in Dontahone's quality, right? Athleticism, explosiveness, effectiveness is one of the most important things that this man can bring to the game. Putting up 6, 6, and a plus minus of 11 today in 13 minutes. Again, it's nothing overwhelming yet, but he's getting there. And he'll get there faster and faster. And he deserves the shout out, he deserves the appreciation, because you can see him bonding with the team better and better as well. And it's great. It's great to see another transfer proving the quality that they have. And let me actually check out this comment that confused me before. Tyler may have been bad today, but it's crazy to think that if last year he played like he did today, we would have said he played well. I believe Tyler will perform much better in the next games. It's exactly the point I brought up, my friend. If you presented the 11 and 6 that Tyler put up today to me a year ago, I would have said that this is one of the games of his season. Like, he'll struggle to surpass this performance. And the transformation he put up for this to be one of his bad days deserves nothing less than the uttermost gratitude by the fans. And as I said, I'm not just sure that he'll play better in the next games. I feel like we haven't even seen his best this season yet. Again, God help he stays healthy, right? And aside from Donta, speaking of transfers that have been consistently good to great, let's go with Tyson Ward. Tyson, who put up 8, 4, and 1 in 21 today, adding to that one block with a plus minus of 6. Again, coming into a big example of stats that don't really reveal everything. Tyson has been the glue of this team in a way, because he came in and immediately showed his worth, and he's been just that rising line that I said with Don't as well, and the chemistry he has with the entire team and the fans when needed has been indescribable, which immediately makes him an irreplaceable pillar of this team, both defensively and offensively. And one of the biggest positives that Tyson can bring is the fact that he is a clutch player in every way. He shows up under pressure. Thomas Walkup, of course, we talked about. I want to focus on one more performance and then look a bit forward to see what the season is going to bring and what we can be expecting in general. Evan Fournier. The man that came back from injury very recently, the man that we all love, the man that the fans appreciate, no matter how he's playing, which is amazing, because even in his bad start today, the entirety of the Peace and Friendship Stadium just erupted with his name. he needs time. He's done this before. May I remind you? And doubters from both sides have appeared again. And he'll set them up again in equal fashion, right? We know Evan's quality, we know Evan's positives, and we know Evan's negatives. And do you know who knows all of that more than us? Barzokas. And do you know who knows more than anyone, including Barzokas, about all of that? Evan himself. If there is anyone that's determined to bounce back from a deep in form, that's Evan Fournier. And he'll be back to absolutely wowing each and every single person in this family of France. I truly believe that. I truly believe that he'll be back in no time. Now, standings wise, as I said, 5-3, just behind Hapoel now, just behind Zvezda, and just behind the ever impressive Zalgiris. Zvezda and Zalgiris, of course, being the surprises of the season. At least I didn't really expect Zvezda and Zalgiris to finish round 8 first and second. Then, of course, Hapoel were first, and we just handed them their second loss. And it's us, Monaco, Valencia, who have been another relatively big surprise coming back in. Then it's Pana and Barcelona. Then it's Real, Paris, Bologna, Bayern. Then it's Milano, Dubai, FS, Fener, and Partizan, who lost. I actually didn't keep an eye on the result. They lost by 2 to Barcelona. That's interesting. And then it's Maccabi, Baskonia, and Villeurbanne. If I'm not completely mistaken, I will go and check immediately. But if I'm not completely mistaken, next week we play a morally disabled, safe to say at least, Partizan. Let me actually go ahead and take a look. I am spot on. We play Heracles on the 2nd, which is Sunday, and then on the 7th we play Partizan at home. It's not a game to underestimate. It really isn't. But it's a game that we can use as a momentum boost for a lot of people, and that we can use as a confidence boost. And then after Partizan, we play Karditsa on the weekend, and then it's a very tough double week with the current leaders of the Euroleague, Zalgiris at home, and then flying away to face Armani Milano. There's a long road ahead, as I said. And what we need more than anything is consistency. Honestly, I believe in this team a lot. And I hope that throughout the season, these little talks and episodes can once again flip you all to the more positive side. Thank you for keeping me company at such a late night. We do this once in a while. We drag on into the AMs sometimes. Football tomorrow, and I'll probably, more than likely, at least, see you all Sunday night as we get back to regular and ever better programming. All your support means the world to me, and I hope you know that you're making some insane dreams come true, and I'll never be able to truly express my gratitude for that. See you in the next one, as always. Thank you.